This is Rob at resistancepandemic.com. The time is now. Join the resistance. Like, share, subscribe and donate to help the cause. It is time to resist this pandemic. Make our voices known. Now watch this.
Last night I dreamt about how things were.
Of every enemy of the state!
And then I woke up here.
Very interesting, don't you agree? Or what if even papayas turned out to contain COVID-19?
Oh my gosh! Papayas have COVID now. The president of Tanzania received some test kits to test for super dangerous COVID-19. And he tested on goats, quails, and even papayas, and they all came back as COVID positive. Oh my gosh, guys, this is way worse than I thought. Everything has COVID. We're all gonna die.
Where do we draw the line?
Is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. The
other thing I'm curious about, you know, we keep hearing that the virus is going to dictate the timeline. Dr. Fauci has said that. Dr. Fauci has said that. When you look at this virus, Dr. Fauci has said that.
I'd like to call to order this secret conclave of America's media empires. We're here to come up with the next phony baloney crisis.
Well, I think...
NBC, you are here to listen and not speak. I think we should go with a good old-fashioned public health scare.
A new disease. No one's immune. It's like the summer of the shark, except instead of a shark, it's an epidemic. And instead of summer, it's all the time.
This can't be a made-up disease.
We do have something we've been holding on to, but it hasn't been tested. Get over here, NBC.
We certainly believe in testing, but Wow. Oh, yeah.
So, we've got our deadly disease. Now, we just have to blame it on something that's in every household. House cat flu is coming, people. The Center for Disease Disinformation predicts with some degree of probability that the...
For anything. Simpsons predicted the future shot by shot because we're part of the Illuminati. Which is true, we are.
It has been drawn. www.resistancepandemic.com talks to like-minded people and arrange to meet and discuss these events. The time is now. We have reached the limit. How much more are we going to take? These events have been foretold.
Or this is all just a huge hoax scam with testing that we've already seen. They've talked about some of the tests they have an 80% false positive rate. I'm going to give you just a little bit of insight here. If you're going to test something, and if more than half the times, in fact more than 3/4 of the time, it gives you the wrong answer, then you'd actually be better off taking the exact opposite of what the test said. But it doesn't really matter because it's clearly, obviously, all BS. Yet, the lockdowns continue. I wonder why. Well, if you're new to this channel, and if you're kind of a normie, and you actually still watch television programming, and you still listen to those criminals called politicians, and the criminals that work for them called scientists and doctors, this might come as a shock to you. Those people are all criminals. It's a organized crime racket that's been going on for centuries. And even I think it was H.L. Mencken who said, and this is like nearly 100 years ago, so this has been going on for a long time, that it's basically the government's job to keep the populace in a state of clamor or panic from a series of hobgoblins, most of them not real. And
ResistancePandemic.com. The onus is on you to react now.
I want to tell you about a blunt prediction this morning from California Governor Gavin Newsom. He says a return to life as normal in that state will not happen anytime soon. Hundreds of people protested California's stay-at-home restrictions at the state capitol in Sacramento yesterday. But in an interview you'll only see on CBS this morning, Newsom says more patience is needed. Governor, the last time you were on our air, you said you worried people would become fatigued with the social distancing guidelines and the restrictions. It seems that fatigue has set in, to judge by the protests. What's your message to those protesters?
Stay safe, stay healthy, not only for yourselves, but your loved ones. When you come home, if you haven't practiced physical distancing, be careful when you see grandma and grandpa, and focus again on the fact that we're all in this together.
President Trump has expressed sympathy with the protesters, even cheering them on in some respects. Do you share that sympathy, if not exactly the president's language?
Well, I share the empathy of frustration that we're all living through something we've never lived through in our lifetime, and the need and desire for all of us to get back to work and to some semblance of normalcy.
Can you say from where you're sitting at this moment that the worst is over in California?
No, because if we all pull back, we could see a second wave that makes this pale in comparison. I can't say that Honestly, that's determined by the act of 40 million Californians stepping and continuing to meet this moment. ICU numbers are beginning to flatten, but we're not seeing yet the significant decline that we need to see ultimately to toggle back. But we are committed to a process. We've socialized that process, and we are leaning in, working with 58 counties across the state to make sure that we do it together in a thoughtful and strategic way.
I understand the timeline for easing restrictions is still a work in progress, still a little bit hazy. It's dependent on what people do today. But from where you're sitting with the data you have, can you say today that baseball is possible in July, school will be back in session in September, and it's possible that elections will happen as normal in November?
Yeah, I don't know as normal, and none of the above as normal. I think that would be unrealistic to assert. You have to radically change the floor plans in the schools, in businesses, private, public institutions, large and small. We're going to have new protocols and procedures, temperature checks, people wearing face coverings across the spectrum. But the idea of tens of thousands of fans coming together across their differences, high-fiving one another, hugging each other after a base hit or a strikeout is not something I'm anticipating anytime soon.
It sounds like what you're saying is life as we knew it is gone until such a time when there's a vaccine or herd immunity.
You got it. I mean, it's not that complicated, or incredibly successful and viably distributed treatments. I don't anticipate that normalcy that many of us wished for happening anytime soon, but we will begin to toggle back, to put a little dimmer switch up, and begin to change the way we currently are conducting ourselves from a full lockdown stay-at-home order to one that is more prescriptive, targeted, and strategized.
His media allies, but his confidence that his words would not leave the room was later broken.
We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other publications whose directors have attended our meetings and restricted their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government.
That these men aim to create a world system of financial control in private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the world as a whole. In short, they seek total and quiet control of the entire world.
They are laughing at us. Share and donate. The links are down below.
On the pandemic. As you know, in order to flatten the curve, we've had to turn off the machine. The machine has not been turned off for a long, long time. Nobody even remembers who turned it on. So please bear with us as we consult the manual after prizing it from the shitted pants of capitalism and figure out what to do next. While we wait, we thought we should have a little chat about what just happened. Scientists had been warning us for decades to prepare for this crisis. Did we? Of course not. The machine said there was no profit in preventing future crises. So instead, most of us opted for an alternative policy. Total fucking panic, dead people and bullshit. Here at the Chinese government, this meant covering up the virus and deaths, disappearing truth tellers, arresting activists while no one's watching, making up conspiracies, making the WHO our bitch, and then trying to cast ourselves as the saviors of the world. Here at the British government, where we spent the past decade bankrupting the NHS, this sentient ham caught the virus and almost died of irony as his life was saved by the migrant nurses we've been blaming for unemployment. In Europe, we care about unity, so we turned our backs on the Italians and said cazzi vostri. In Brazil, where our fascist fuckchop still thinks it's just the flu, we left it to street gangs to protect the favelas. In India, we stoked violence against Muslims by blaming them for the virus. In Poland and Hungary, we gave up on democracy. In North Korea, we slipped into a coma. And in Belarus, we told you to drink vodka and left you to crowdfund your own healthcare. Fajna i normalna. But nowhere has our policy been more evident than in backward countries and failed states, like the US. Here, as thousands of people died and got buried in mass graves, Il Duce left you to fight each other over medical equipment by entrusting it to his little shit goblin-in-law. No, this isn't a dystopian sci-fi flick. This is the result of 4 cancerous decades of neoliberal shitfuckery. Sure, in some places we aren't doing too badly. Here at the Australian government, we shock the world by not being the shittest for once. And in New Zealand, we depress the world by reminding you that unfortunately this isn't your leader. But sadly, when it comes to flattening that other much bigger curve that scientists have also been warning us about for decades, it won't be enough for only some of us to get it right. Closing our borders won't help. We either all nail it, or we all total fucking panic dead people and bullshit. Oh look, the machine is almost ready to restart. Before we go back to normal, know that during this pause, we too have noticed the reminders of what we've lost. Time with our children, life returning to our shores, cities and neighborhoods, the sight of the Himalayas, of the universal logo, and of those distant places awaiting us if we don't blow this. These signs of a better world are enticingly close. If only we could just... This has been a message from your local government franchise. Send help.
Remember to like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our latest shows. Well, thank you for listening in today, and stay tuned in to make sure you keep up to date with the latest news. All Bitcoin, Monero and Ethereum fund links are down below. Once again, like, share, subscribe and thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you on the next show. Over and out.